Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump criticizes Ukraine after US-Russia talks, says Ukraine could have made a deal. Russia rejects NATO troops for Ukraine. Trump says US won't oppose peacekeepers. US judge declines request to temporarily block Elon Musk and Doordarshan from firing federal employees. Pakistan to take on New Zealand in Karachi as it hosts a major ICC cricket tournament in 3 decades as Champions Trophy 2025 kicks off today. New diplomatic talks between the US and Russia are moving fast to discuss a potential path to end the conflict in Ukraine. Now, these discussions held in Riyadh mark a significant shift from Washington's previous approach of isolating Russian President Vladimir Putin under Biden administration.
US President Donald Trump's administration has agreed to more talks with Moscow on ending the conflict in Ukraine. Ukraine, livid at being excluded from the talks that will decide its future, has been vocal in rejecting any peace negotiations that occur without its direct involvement. President Zelensky has now postponed a planned visit to Saudi Arabia on Wednesday to next month to avoid giving legitimacy to the talks. Trump has, however, dismissed Ukraine's objections and concerns about being left out of the talks. Trump, in fact, blamed it on Kiev that the conflict has stretched so long.
And I'm very disappointed. I hear that, they're upset about not having a seat. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives, and without the loss of cities that are just laying on their side.
For Russia, the main contentious issue and an absolute red line has been Ukraine's NATO membership. Russia has insisted NATO to not grant membership to Ukraine. Moscow is also seeking assurances that NATO will not expand further into Eastern Europe. European leaders have expressed unease over the issue.
As we explained today, the appearance of troops of armed forces from the aforementioned NATO countries but under a foreign flag, under the flag of the European Union or under national flags does not change anything in this regard. This, of course, is unacceptable to us.
Meanwhile, European leaders have begun discussions about sending peacekeeping troops to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. In contrast with Moscow's hardline opposition to any NATO involvement, Trump said he would not oppose the deployment of European peacekeepers.
If they want to do that, that's great. I'm all for it. If they want to do that, I think that'd be fine. I mean, I know France has mentioned it. Others have mentioned it. UK has mentioned it. But if we have a peace deal, I think having troops over there from the standpoint of Europe, we won't have to put any over there because, we're very far away. But having troops over there would be fine. I would not object to it at all.
Europe is also charting its own way in the event of US-Russia talks. France is hosting a second meeting to discuss Ukraine and European security on Wednesday with several other European and non-European states. While in Riyadh, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio emerged from the meeting optimistic that Russia is ready to begin a serious negotiation process and tried to reassure allies, emphasizing that no one is being sidelined in the negotiations.
I would say to you that in order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides. We're not going to predetermine what those are. We're certainly not going to negotiate this today or in a press conference for that matter. But and there are other parties that have sanctions. The European Union is going to have to be at the table at some point because they have sanctions as well that have been imposed. So, but I guess the point here is the goal is, and we agreed on what the goal is to bring an end to this conflict in a way that's fair, enduring, sustainable, and acceptable to all parties involved. What that looks like, well, that's what the ongoing engagement is going to be all about.
Also on the cards is a high-profile meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Trump confirmed that he might meet Putin before the end of this month without going into specifics. Trump also suggested that Ukraine should hold elections, a proposal he says is supported by multiple nations. The world is watching the developments rather closely as the future of Ukraine and Europe hangs in balance. The key question remains, can any agreement between the US and Russia bring lasting peace in Eastern Europe? The stakes are incredibly high, and every decision will invariably impact the future of Ukraine, Europe, and the global security matrix. Aarti Rana and Shubhendu Ghosh's report for DD India.
US President Donald Trump announced his plans to impose auto tariffs in the neighborhood of 25% and similar duties on semiconductors and pharmaceutical imports, the latest in a series of measures threatening to upend international trade. On Friday, Trump said levies on automobiles would come as soon as April 2nd, the day after members of his cabinet are due to deliver reports to him outlining the options for a range of import duties as he seeks to reshape global trade. Trump has long pointed to what he calls unfair treatment of US automotive exports in foreign markets. Since his inauguration 4 weeks ago, Trump has imposed a 10% tariff on all imports from China on top of existing levies over China's failure to halt fentanyl trafficking. He also announced and then delayed for a month 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and non-energy imports from Canada. Donald Trump's administration scored a victory when a judge ruled in its favor in a challenge by Democratic attorneys general from a group of states to the authority of the Republican president's chief government cost-cutter Elon Musk. Washington-based U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan denied their request for an order barring billionaire Tesla CEO Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, from accessing computer systems at federal agencies or directing firings of government workers while the litigation plays out. The attorneys general argued that their ability to carry out educational and other programs were at risk. They accused Musk's team of unlawfully accessing data at federal agencies and directing a purge of the 2.3 million strong federal workforce. The lawsuit was filed by more than a dozen states and announced by state attorneys general from New Mexico, Michigan and Arizona. DOGE was formed by Trump and it has swept through federal agencies, slashing thousands of jobs and dismantling various programs since Trump returned to office last month and put Musk in charge of rooting out what they see as wasteful spending as part of the president's dramatic overhaul of the government. U.S. President Donald Trump has instructed the Justice Department to terminate all the remaining Biden-era U.S. attorneys, asserting that the department had been politicized like never before. Trump on Truth Social posted, and I quote, "We must clean the house immediately and restore confidence. America's golden age must have a fair justice system that begins today." And I unquote. Last week, the White House sent termination notices to several U.S. attorneys around the country who had been appointed by Democratic former President Joe Biden. On Monday, several U.S. attorneys appointed by Biden announced they were stepping down, and others had left the government last week. As concerns were raised that U.S. President Donald Trump is exceeding his constitutional authority and giving Elon Musk an unbridled swing at the power corridors, both the men sat down to clear the air. In an interview given to a television news network, Trump painted Elon Musk as his enforcer-in-chief, hailing his zeal in implementing the blizzard of executive orders he has issued since returning to office. Trump insisted that his policies should be implemented without delay and said Musk was instrumental in pushing them forward. Musk was tasked with leading the newly created Department of Government Efficiency with the declared goal of rooting out waste, fraud and abuse in federal spending. Musk waved off criticism that he was acting as if he were the U.S. president. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Howard Lutnick as President Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary. The Senate on Tuesday voted 51 to 45 to confirm Lutnick to run the Commerce Department, putting in place one of the administration's top economic officials who will help oversee an agenda around tariffs and protectionism. Lutnick, who was the chief executive of the financial services firm Cantor Fitzgerald, became a central economic advisor to Trump over the past year and led his transition team. As Commerce Secretary, Lutnick will take on a broad portfolio that includes defending U.S. business interests worldwide and overseeing restrictions on technology exports to countries like China. The U.S. Senate also voted to advance the nomination of Kash Patel to be the director of the FBI, putting him on track to run the most prominent U.S. law enforcement agency. The Senate voted 48 to 45 along the party lines on a procedural measure, setting the stage for a final confirmation vote on one of Trump's nominees later this week. Patel, a former Intelligence and Defense Department official in Trump's first term, has called for a radical reshaping of the FBI, pledging to expand its role on illegal immigration and violent crime, core Trump priorities. South Korean Constitutional Court will hold the first formal hearing of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo's impeachment trial on Wednesday. Prime Minister Han took over the role of acting president after President Yoon was impeached by Parliament following his failed attempt to impose martial law on 3rd of December. Han was impeached by the opposition-controlled assembly on December 27th after refusing to appoint additional justices to the Constitutional Court ahead of its review of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment over his December 3rd declaration of martial law. The impeachment motion against Han also accused him of plotting or abetting an insurrection through the short-lived imposition of martial law. The court is expected to focus solely on whether the former Prime Minister violated the Constitution by aiding Yoon in his alleged insurrection attempt without examining potential criminal law violations. The International Atomic Energy Agency chief, Rafael Grossi, visited Japan's stricken Fukushima plant on Wednesday. Grossi, making his 5th visit to Fukushima, viewed the vast interim soil storage facilities near the plant for the first time. Around 13 million cubic meters of soil and 300,000 cubic meters of ash from the incinerated organic material, enough to fill 10 stadiums, were scrapped from land in the region to remove harmful radiation. The IAEA is monitoring Japan's efforts to decommission the Fukushima Daiichi plant after a 2011 earthquake triggered tsunami, killed 18,000 people and set off the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. Grossi's Fukushima visit comes a day after Tokyo approved an energy plan that marks a return to nuclear power to meet growing demand for AI. In Congo, passenger boat services between Bukavu and Goma resumed on Tuesday after a prolonged suspension, restoring a vital transport link between the two cities in eastern Congo. The resumption comes after M23 rebels, who have seized large areas of territory in recent months, including the provincial capital Goma in January, entered Bukavu's city center on Sunday and authorized boat departures to Goma. In Goma, the first arriving vessel was met with applause from residents and passengers alike. Also, the reopening of this transport route offers a glimmer of relief for residents who rely on travel between the two cities for family visits and economic activities. Congolese authorities claim Rwanda continues to support M23's offensive, a charge Rwanda denies. Zoran Milanovic was inaugurated as Croatia's president for a second term on Tuesday. The inauguration ceremony began with the Croatian national anthem, followed by Milanovic taking the presidential oath, promising to serve the nation. The event featured musical performances with former presidents and military leaders in attendance. In his address, he emphasized Croatia's national security, economic challenges, and the importance of independent institutions. Milanovic called for more investments in domestic industry and warned against excessive military spending. The Croatian head of state is a largely ceremonial post, cannot veto laws, but has a say in foreign policy, defense, and security matters. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, former British Premier Rishi Sunak and family met Prime Minister Modi, praised as great friend of India during the visit to Delhi. And India reaffirms Jammu and Kashmir's integral status and Pakistan's UNSC disinformation campaign. Santander to invest $2 billion in Mexico despite tariff risks. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India Live. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will leave for a two-day visit to Johannesburg on Thursday. The minister will participate in the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting at the invitation of the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of South Africa, Ronald Lamola. Jaishankar's participation in the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting will strengthen India's engagement with G20 countries and bolster the voice of the Global South in this important forum. The minister is expected to hold few bilateral meetings in the margins of the foreign ministers meeting at the G20. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador P. Harish, reaffirmed on Tuesday that Jammu and Kashmir is and will always remain an integral part of India and strongly condemned Pakistan's misinformation campaigns. The Indian envoy also emphasized on the democratic choice made by people of Jammu and Kashmir in the Legislative Assembly elections after Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar raised the Kashmir issue at the UNSC.
I would like to reaffirm that Jammu and Kashmir has been, is, and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. In fact, it is Pakistan that is in illegal occupation of parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's campaigns of misinformation and disinformation, of lies and falsehood do not change facts on the ground. The people of Jammu and Kashmir have only last year taken part in a successful election and have voted in large numbers to choose their government. The choice of the people of Jammu and Kashmir was loud and clear. Democracy in Jammu and Kashmir is vibrant and strong, unlike in Pakistan.
Former British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his family on Tuesday called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the national capital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised Sunak as a great friend of India. Sharing pictures on social media platform X, Prime Minister said, and I quote him, "It was a delight to meet former UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his family. We had a wonderful conversation on many subjects. Sunak is a great friend of India and is passionate about even stronger India-UK ties." Sunak was accompanied by his mother-in-law Sudha Murty, an author, and Rajya Sabha MP and other family members. The former UK Prime Minister also met India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and the two discussed potential new avenues to strengthen market-based financial ties and drive economic growth. The Finance Minister stressed on the importance of leveraging the Commonwealth to bring issues of mutual interest to the G7 agenda for the benefit of the Global South. Newly appointed Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar assumed office on Wednesday as the 26th Chief Election Commissioner of India. Gyanesh Kumar is the first CEC to be appointed under the new law on the appointment of the members of the Election Commission. After taking office, the Chief Election Commissioner emphasized that voting is a crucial step for nation building. He urged all Indian citizens who are 18 or older to become registered electors and participate in elections. Kumar assured that the Election Commission of India, in accordance with the Constitution and electoral laws, will always support voters. India's Union Minister for Rural Development and Agriculture, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, inaugurated the 77th session of the Executive Committee of African Asian Rural Development Organization in the national capital on Wednesday. Speaking on the occasion, the Agriculture Minister emphasized on need of collective efforts for rural development and also implementing activities at the organizational and technical level.
अभी भी दुनिया का बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा गांव में बसता है। भारत में भी अगर देखेंगे तो बड़ा हिस्सा आज भी गांव में बसता है और जब तक गांव की प्रगति नहीं होगी तब तक किसी भी देश की प्रगति नहीं होगी, विशेषकर अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज हो, एशियन कंट्रीज हो।
In an attempt to accelerate the development of Naxal-affected areas in central state of Chhattisgarh, the state government has implemented Niyat Nelanar scheme to ensure that no village remains in darkness. The government is focusing on expanding basic amenities in Naxal-affected areas of Chhattisgarh, particularly prioritizing roads, electricity, education and healthcare services. Through this initiative, people in Maoist-affected areas are benefiting from various government schemes.
जाके देखेंगे तो 10 महीना में उधर रोड भी बन रहा है, उधर बिजली भी घर घर पहुंच रही है, पानी भी जो मोदी जी जल जीवन मिशन में घर घर नल द्वारा पानी पहुंचाना चाहते हैं उसको भी पहुंचा रहे हैं। मोबाइल का टावर उधर नहीं था तो मोबाइल का टावर भी आज 150 से ज्यादा मोबाइल का टावर लगवा रहे हैं।
Spain's biggest bank, Santander, announced investments totaling more than $2 billion over the next 3 years in Mexico, hailing the country's enormous potential despite trade tensions with the US. The group unveiled the launch of its fully digital bank, Open Bank, in Latin America's second largest economy, which is wooing investors in the face of threatened US tariffs. Last month, Mexican President Sheinbaum presented a plan aimed at turning Mexico into the world's 10th largest economy, with an ambitious goal of luring $277 billion of investment. The 2025 Champions Trophy will start off with hosts and defending champions Pakistan facing New Zealand at the National Stadium in Karachi on Wednesday. The 9th edition will feature 8 of the best ODI teams competing for the title. Defending champions Pakistan will play the host, while India's matches, in fact, will be played in Dubai due to a hybrid model agreed upon by the ICC.
Pakistan will stage a first major cricket tournament in almost 3 decades from Wednesday, when it will play host to 7 other countries over the next 2.5 weeks in 3 cities. The tournament, featuring the top 8 teams in the ODI format, was discontinued by the International Cricket Committee after the 8th edition in 2017, when Sarfaraz Ahmed's Pakistan beat India in the final. Reigning ODI world champions Australia are among several countries sending weekend contingents, with Steve Smith standing in as captain of squad, featuring a second-string pace attack. Regular skipper Pat Cummins, fellow quick Josh Hazelwood and all-rounder Mitchell Marsh were all ruled out by injury, while left-arm quick Mitchell Starc withdrew for personal reasons and all-rounder Marcus Stoinis has quit ODIs altogether. India will play all their matches in Dubai after it refused to travel to Pakistan for the event due to security concerns. The reigning T20 world champions have made the finals of last 3 ICC events, and Rohit Sharma's team signalled their fine form by winning 7 of 8 limited overs matches against England. Runners-up in 2023 ODI World Cup on home soil, India boasts one of the world's most destructive batting lineups, but will be without pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah, who has been laid low by a back injury. However, seamer Mohammad Shami's impressive return to action is a big relief for Rohit. New Zealand will also fancy their chances of claiming the title, having won the Tri-Nation Trophy in Pakistan, also featuring 1998 champions South Africa. Mitchell Santner's Black Cap side went through the tournament unbeaten and now have a fair idea of the kind of conditions they will face in the Champions Trophy. England were unable to defend the T20 or ODI World Cup under Jos Buttler and are now licking their wounds after a tour of India, where they were blanked 3-0 in the 50 overs matches. They have already lost the services of Jacob Bethel through a hamstring injury, while their bowling trio of Bryden Cars, Jamie Overton and Jofra Archer are all nursing fitness issues. Joint killers Afghanistan will make their Champions Trophy debut following their 6th place finish in the ODI World Cup in 2023, when they beat former champions England, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Pakistan, who face New Zealand in the tournament opener in Karachi on Wednesday, are hoping a successful Champions Trophy will pave the way open for more such tournaments. Sports Desk, DD India.
That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us at In Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.